I am Jason DeMarco. I'm the Vice President and Creative Director of Adult Swim On Air. We are sitting at William Street, which is the base of operations for Adult Swim in Atlanta, Georgia. Homegrown. I think when I die, this is going to be my one claim to fame, but Run the Jewels exists because I put Mike and Elle together. Mike and I did an album for our record label, William Street Records, called Rap Music. It came out about 3 years ago now. And Mike came to me and said, I want to make an album with Adult Swim, but I don't want it to be like any of my other albums. I want it to be totally different. He said, I want to take it all the way back to my influence. It's like, I want America's Most Wanted, Ice Cube. So I said, okay, well, if you want a guy that has sort of Bomb Squad production right now, you need to talk to LP. And I had been working with Elle for years at that point already. We did a compilation called Def Swim, which was basically a free album where we featured a bunch of Def Jux artists, Elle's old label. And then we had been buying beats from him, and I mean, his Fantastic Damage album was like a seminal album for me, so I had already done music videos with him. People used to think Elle didn't mess with rappers that weren't indie because of his stance, you know, because Def Jux was independent as fuck and all that. But I knew that Elle messed with like major label Southern rap because I put him on a compilation and he remixed a Young Jeezy song. So I knew that he might be willing to work with Mike, and I assumed he had heard of him because he was up on everybody. So I called Elle and said, we want you to come in and do a song or two. We didn't think it would be an album, but just a song or two with Killer Mike. And he said, hell yeah. So we flew him in for 2 days in the studio here in Atlanta. And basically when they met, it was like birds started tweeting and the sun came out of the clouds and hearts came out of both of them. And it was basically, they fell in love with each other. From that point on, I mean, in that 3-day period in the studio, they got 4 songs done. And they just immediately like it was lightning in a bottle. So then after he left, Mike basically told me like, he's doing the whole album. And Elle at that point was working on a solo album, and he was like, I do not have time to be distracted. I need to finish my album. You got what I gave you, that's it. Don't bother me about this. And Mike was like, no, fuck that, I'm calling him every day. He called him every day, I emailed him, called him every day, and we both basically browbeat him into doing the whole album. Over the course of the next 6 to 8 months, they got together several times. We made the album and released it, and they had such a great time that they said, well, let's go on a tour together, because Elle's album was out and Mike's album was out. So they did a joint tour, and on that tour, you know, there's one song on Mike's album that Elle's on as a rapper. So they would do that song and then do each other's sets. And I think being on the road, they were like, why don't we just start making some more music together, but like, let's be a group. And then they formed Run the Jewels. Basically, Adult Swim, funded the first 2 Run the Jewels albums before they were made. They just said, hey, if we make a bunch of music, would you help us? And I said, yeah, I'll give you the money to make the music if when the music is done, you give it to me to put on TV. So it was like just a handshake deal. And obviously it worked out well for them and for me. And so we did it on the next album, and it's just, you know, it's been amazing to watch those guys just have a bigger year this year than they've had professionally with the 2 careers they've had. It's just bananas in their 40s or late 30s. I don't want Elle to get mad at me. And they've been very gracious about telling people that, you know, Adult Swim was the reason they got together, because they're both amazing human beings, obviously. That's why they're doing so well.